Hi, Samylle. Nice to see you working really hard and sending us this essay. Great work. Let's see what you said here, okay? Schools. Okay. It looks like you decided to go with 5 paragraphs. As you've been learning along the course, we typically recommend a 4-paragraph structure. But let's read it through and see what you said here. Schools can be seen, this should be S-E-E-N, only as a place to be educated, but recently this role has been changing and the society has been E-E-N again, arguing that school should also be a place of entertainment. In my opinion, schools should not have only academic purpose, P-U-R, but also include entertainment, not ing. This essay will discuss the issue using examples to support the arguments. Fine. Firstly, it is important to argue that children spend, without the R, more and more time in school nowadays, and because of that, their role needs S to change. Therefore, more non-academic, no S, subjects should or must be introduced into the school's curriculum. For example, sex education, media studies without the apostrophe S, and sports play an important role in children's apostrophe S development. Okay, these subjects aren't really related to entertainment though, because remember what entertainment means. It means amusement, it means enjoyment, something that's lighthearted and humorous. Like, that's what we mean by entertainment. So talking about sex education and media studies, I don't believe that those are appropriate examples, okay? All right, let's move on. Secondly, studies have shown that children cannot, it should be double N-O-T, written out fully because it's an academic essay, so we don't use contractions. So they can't keep their attention on the same subject for more than 30 minutes. Consequently, schools need to implement more enjoyable activities, not just to be more attractive to parents, but also in order to achieve their educational purpose. Lastly, school, this one is fine, but like I said, it didn't belong in its own paragraph. It should have been attached to another larger paragraph. All right, moving on. Lastly, school needs S to prepare its students, because you have to match these. The verb and the subject have to coordinate. So you could have said, lastly, schools need to prepare their students not just for the academic world, but also need to create a good balance in their lifestyle. That is why I believe that, no comma, bringing entertaining aspects into the school's curriculum can help to develop other skills that are necessary in members of society, such as creativity and ethics, for example. Okay, but extend it. It's not a paragraph. It's basically 2 sentences. Okay, and that doesn't really make a fully developed paragraph. So you needed to extend that. Okay, to conclude, it is predicted that schools are predicted, then, is not the right word based on the rest of the sentence. Okay, so to conclude, it must be noted, or it is worth reiterating, that schools are not preparing just students, but members of society, helping to build a new world, including some fun and entertaining, here you need the ing, activities into a school's purpose, without the comma, allows to create more interesting and intelligent human beings. Okay, so for your first essay, it's a nice attempt, but I really want you to try implementing the template a little more closely, at least in the beginning, when you're trying to get accustomed to this method of writing. I would like to see you more faithfully use the template. Because what happens is you had a couple of things in this essay that didn't fit in terms of the development of your essay, and it just didn't really belong here. So, for example, this to me was inappropriate, primarily the example you used. Okay, now if you had developed this and talked about entertainment a little more, then it could have been fine. but the way it was developed and the example you used just made it seem off topic. Okay? Then this was okay, but again, it didn't belong in its own paragraph, so it needed to be extended a little further with some sort of example, and then again attached to a greater paragraph. Also, you need to provide support. So my suggestion is review this essay and review again the template and try to kind of plug in some of these ideas that you have into the template structure. And also be a little cautious with your grammar because there were a lot of grammatical mistakes as well. Let's take a look at your second essay. All right, let's see what you did in this this particular one. This is the one about reading versus enjoyable activities. So reading is a good way to develop skills and imagination, but some can argue that there are better ways to do so. In my opinion, since reading is not a social or motor activity, other activities can improve and develop more. This essay will discuss this issue using examples to support the argument. All right, that's lovely. I like that. Firstly, children can use arts to improve their skills, especially because this activity can develop their imagination, motor skills, and it is a way to express their emotions, plural, it's not just one emotion. This is due to the fact that, without a comma, an art activity is not a passive action as reading is. Get rid of this it. Therefore, this example of an enjoyable activity is a more broad and complete action, option of how to develop children's, apostrophe S, skills. Okay, that's not bad. That's definitely using the template better. And I'm glad that you mentioned this thing about imagination. It seems to be the element that people neglect to write about. So I'm glad that you did not do that. So I enjoyed that. Moving on. Secondly, sports also have the capacity to help children improve their social skills. For example, since sport is something played in group or teams. Something played in, no hyphen, groups or teams. Children can learn about their own body, learn how to use, you don't use your motor skills better, but you develop your motor skills. Okay? So learn how to develop their motor skills and how to improve resilience. Get rid of the here. Consequently, having the sport, I would like you to tell me how this could be done. That would be really helpful. So extend it just a little further by telling me how sport helps does it. To tell me how sport helps do this. Okay. Consequently, having sports in the children's routine is something more important than reading since it has a role in their health and social life. Fine. Studies have shown that children, lowercase c, that develop their skills through an enjoyable environment, okay, can learn faster than the ones that are trying to develop their skill in an isolated ED and individual perspective. This doesn't belong anywhere. I understand that you wanted to use an example, but it definitely doesn't belong here. Maybe you could have put it up in this paragraph, but just sitting here on its own like that, it's not an example of good paragraphing, and it doesn't really belong there. I'm not really sure where it belongs, actually. All right, moving on. In conclusion, despite the fact that reading is a good activity to improve children's imagination, it is predicted that it is not enough to develop other areas or abilities as an enjoyable activity can do. All right, that's fine, except predicted is the wrong word here. What you want to say instead, it is believed that. That's a better word choice, okay? So this essay was definitely much stronger than the other one. It was much more cohesive. So in total, good job with this one. This one definitely felt like more on the right track in terms of the way you develop your arguments. I'm really happy that you mentioned both skills and creativity because, as I said before, this is something that a lot of people miss out on, and they don't talk about creativity at all. But you didn't have that problem, so well done. There are still little mistakes like grammar mistakes throughout. So those are things that I want you to be really aware of as you continue the course so that you can avoid making some of those mistakes. So let's talk about what the next steps are. The first step is for you to correct these essays and to return them back to us corrected. Second step is for you to create an error correction list. What that will include is all the mistakes that were pointed out to you, and then next to each mistake, write down what the corrected version would be. This is something that you'll need to add to with each essay correction you get back. And then, of course, the third thing you have to do is send us a new set of essays, really applying everything you've been learning both from the course and from these essay corrections. So go ahead, get that started. I'd really like to see essays from you in the next 24 hours or so, so you can apply everything you've been learning and not lose your momentum. So I'll let you get that started. I'm waiting to see your next essays, so good luck.